let's talk history. We talked about 1921, the first iteration of the code. The numbering system has changed. In 1954, 1939, we had numbering in the code system. In 86, we had the last major overhaul. So we're under the income tax of 1986. In section 1031 is what we use as the numeric signifier for this provision. This guy named Starker was a lumber baron in Oregon. He had lots of appreciated real estate, and people wanted to buy it, but he didn't want to pay taxes. So he said, I'll sell you these lands, Mr. Buyer, but you need to give me back some real estate in exchange. I will designate that real estate in the future. So this blew everyone's mind. It was a non-simultaneous exchange. He was giving up his old land for new land that he would designate in the future. Case goes all the way to the Supreme Court. T.J. Starker wins the case on a procedural argument, but a win's a win. And that case became the precedent for opening up the floodgates for non-simultaneous exchanges. This made the Internal Revenue Service and Treasury very nervous because there were no guardrails on 1031 to constrain the process. And so Congress gave the Internal Revenue Service and Treasury the authority to write their regs, their own regs. So they got to write the rules for what they're going to administer. In 84, they added stuff. 84, they excluded partnerships from 1031 treatment, which was a big event. And they added the 45-day identification period and the 180-day exchange period. So now, when you do a 1031 exchange, a delayed exchange, you have to identify by midnight of the 45th day what properties you want to purchase. That rule was not written with your success in mind. One strategic strategy is to act like a chess player. Think 2 moves ahead. Before you even sell your relinquished property, what's a prudent idea? Find what you want to buy first, lock it up, maybe even put the property under contract or LOI or have an option agreement, but have your for sure thing lined up. Okay, now you are a chess player, but you're playing at a higher level than everyone else in the room. You also have a backup plan. What if the property that you had wanted to buy turns out to be no good when you do the due diligence? Having another plan, a plan B, in addition to the property you've locked up might be a good idea. What kind of product might work as a good backup in the event that your first choice doesn't work out? The syndicators of real estate, big firms like Morgan Stanley, Ameriprise, Cantor Fitzgerald, RBC Wealth Management, even US Bank Wealth Management, have products that are sold and regulated as securities. And we're going to see the slides later, but these products are typically referred to as DSTs, Delaware Statutory Trusts. When you own a beneficial interest in a DST, you are deemed to own your proportionate share of the underlying real estate of the DST, and you're deemed to take subject to the underlying debt that's allocable to you, your portion of the debt. So backup plan number 1 might be to find a DST that you could list as your backup choice. We'll talk about what the attributes of a good backup are. Let's say you have a best friend that owns an apartment building. And you say to the friend, I'm going to be vulnerable for a little while. I'm going to be doing a 1031 exchange, hoping that my first choice doesn't fall out of bed. And your friend might say to you, well, if all else fails, I could sell you this apartment building. So sometimes you can have an arrangement with someone, say, hey, I'll buy that 40-acre farm that you have, or that 10-unit apartment building, or whatever. People think and talk amongst their friends and colleagues and sometimes help each other out when the first choice, the second choice, and now the third choice has to be activated.